Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Educational Gamer, and we are trying to see whether the carrier will survive into the 21st century. In between episodes, I went ahead and did set up an anti-submarine warfare mission for the helicopters of our third carrier group. As you'll remember, we do have 3 carrier groups, the Queen Elizabeth and 2 Indian aircraft carriers, including the very new Vikrant. Now there's one issue with this setup over here. So as you can see, these 4 points are sort of the area in which one of our anti-submarine warfare missions is going on. And that's the Vikrant anti-submarine warfare mission over here. The issue is this entire group only has 3 helicopters. So if we look at the aircraft over here, you can see it has exactly 3 helicopters that are capable of anti-submarine warfare. And these are these Sea Kings. Now, there's a big issue over here. I was really surprised with that. So first off, you can see these helicopters. What do they carry? They carry 2 torpedoes. That's fine. So we can attack submarines that we spot, but they're not carrying anything else. In particular, they're not carrying sonar buoys, and that's important because the first issue, of course, with the submarine is that you need to find it. And you can see up over here, our helicopters already on the Queen Elizabeth dropped a couple of these sonar buoys. These things are basically buoys that float in the water. They're sending out either active signals or passive signal or just listening to submarines that might be in the area, and they're relaying these signals back to the helicopters. So we don't have that on the Indian helicopters, and we only have 3 helicopters. More importantly, so how can we spot submarines at all? We can have a look at these helicopters. It's not a bad helicopter per se, it's a bit old. But most importantly, what sensors are actually available to us then. Of course, we can simply look, we have a couple of radars, but what's really important for submarine detection is this item over here. It's a dipping sonar, so basically you have the helicopter and on a long cable will carry a sonar buoy. It will dip that into the water, listen if anything is around, and then go on and dip it somewhere else. And it has an abysmal range. It only has a maximum range of 3 nautical miles, and it's early 1980s technology. So it's not really likely to find anything. So it's very difficult actually for me to. It's an abysmal state. And if we have a look at the Vikramayat over here, this one does have more helicopters. We should probably collapse that. It does have more helicopters, including the Sea King, so same issue really. And a couple of others, like for example this one over here. But again, the sensors, this one does not have any dipping sonar. So this one is actually reliant on the generic MAD port, and the MAD means, I think, magnetic anomaly detection. So this one will fly over the water and try to find the magnetic anomaly of a submarine that might be in the water, but it's not perfect. It's far from it. It's really difficult. However, it does carry a couple of sonar buoys, but again, these are 1970s technology, so I'm really desolated by the state of the Indian anti-submarine warfare capabilities. Let's compare that briefly to what we have on the UK side. No picture unfortunately for this helicopter, but we do see that well, first of all, it carries a lot more sensors in total, including, well, an MAD1, but it's not a generic one, so it's somewhat better. And it should be carrying quite a lot of sonar buoys, and I hope that these are active sonar buoys actually. Sonar buoys, yes, active, range and directional, so that's good. And I do think that we have various helicopters actually on this aircraft carrier, some of which might be a little bit better suited to this role. Yeah, you can see these guys are carrying a lot of sonar buoys, these SSQ designations over here. So, and they have much better range, much better technology. So, yeah, compared to the UK setup over there, our Indian friends over here are really not that great, so I'm much more eager to bring these guys a little bit closer together. And you know what, in fact, we're going to take the Vikram group over here and we're going to tell it to be a little bit faster. Just because I don't want to stumble into any submarine. Being fast, of course, makes it easier for the enemy to spot us, but on the other hand, hopefully they'll not be able to close in to us quite as well. I also want to bring my submarine a little bit faster towards our area over here, and one thing I think we should check is actually, I don't think it was the Starship, or was it? Starship, are you dropping? Yes, you are the entering submarine warfare thingy, and your launch altitude is from 200 feet upwards. So we should adjust your trajectory somewhat over here, and let's say that that's going to be minus 190 feet. So you're going to be a little bit higher in the water, just so you can fire that weapon. Right. That should settle it for our ships, and I'm eager to actually start the mission a little bit more over here. We do have these boogies spotted. We are fairly sure that these are F-16s, and if we look at the possible weapons and loadouts that they can carry, the mission briefing did tell us that the A-16s were expected to be in an anti-air layout. So I'm guessing, I'm very much guessing that they are probably armed with the AMI-120C. So, American weapon, pretty much American standard anti-air weapon, air-to-air missile. It does have a range of 60 nautical miles and a fairly good probability to hit. So how does that compare to our aircraft? Of course, we do have two different aircrafts. We have these Russian MiG-29Ks, Fulcrums over here. Actually a pretty decent plane, but what weapons is it carrying then? We do have the AA-11, that's a short-range missile, and we have the AA-12. That one has only a range of 45 nautical miles, so we are actually very badly outranged by these guys. And I'm not too eager to experience that, so I think what we're going to do is bring our guys home. I don't think in a straight up fight there's much for us to win. We have two aircraft of them, two of us, and they outrange us. Our weapons are no fashion better than theirs, so I really don't think that there's much that we should be able to do over there. However, we might want to think about what's going on with the... Sorry, I think I'll drop the sonobuoy... drop the sonobuoy visibility so that I can actually click on the Queen a little bit over here and have a look at our actual main strike craft. So we again are carrying the AMI-120 as well. So that's fine, and I think we might actually want to try out how well is our radar evasion. So I'm very eager to get these guys into the fight. So what I'm going to do over here is launch two of our F-35Bs from the carrier. They are now taking off. It will take them 30 seconds to actually clear off, and then we'll be able to send them up north over here. Whereas our other flight, our Voodoo flight down here, is coming back towards home. So that I think is worthwhile. We'll probably use these guys a little bit more against some anti-air threats, so that might be worthwhile. You know what, actually we might bring that up a little bit more towards over here, so that if these guys do spot us, we'll be able to maybe put up a little bit of smoke and mirror thing, so that these guys might actually follow up on these while our F-35s might be coming in. So, since we are launching our F-35s, there's one question. We have a strike mission over here, and we are in strike radius. So, do we want to go ahead and strike? Now, the F-35, as you'll know, is a stealth weapon, so I'm actually fairly confident that we could potentially come up over here and maybe get a little bit of vision on the enemy, but I'm slightly concerned. If we only have 4 strike craft, really. We only have 4 F-35s that are loaded out in an air-to-ground mission layout, and I don't want to risk them. It would be so dramatic if we lost these aircraft. While I think we could potentially get close without being spotted, we also know that there are a lot of anti-air installations around. We do have these hostile aircraft, there we go, that are coming down towards us over here. And you know what? I think they actually might be going for this craft down here. There we go. flight 667 has been launched, and that's the F-35s, so they'll be coming up. You can see they're very low actually, they're just at 4,000 feet. Of course they're still accelerating, but that's normal. I mean, they just started, so they need to gain some altitude, and we are coming up here. So, new contacts designated by... Wait a minute. Let's wait a second over here. Okay, so we have more potentially hostile targets. And that's more F-16s, which I'm going to mark as unfriendly, because it's very, very likely they are. So, I think these guys might actually be coming... Are they coming down towards our helicopter up over here? And you know what? You're just going to loiter at max altitude. Okay, so that's interesting. Right. About the F-35s, I don't want to risk them easily. Of course, radar installation. At some point we will need to oh, just the yeah, just the anti-submarine warfare missions. That's all right. Yeah, so at some point we will need to start, but I think I'd rather attack at night. Right now it's local time 7:30 in the morning, so it's bright day, it's early morning in fact, so until we get here it would be potentially they would be able to spot us just visually. Probably not at very far distance, but at some point. Right, up over here you can see that all of these hostile contacts are sort of in a little box, and that's because of the way that we spotted them. So potentially some of these guys were spotted by some of our radar installations, and we only have precise directional information. We don't know how far away they are, but we know that they must be on that sort of bearing, probably from our helicopter. Is that it? Well, it's detected by a lot of different... Ooh, okay, so we are now spotting these guys with the sensor installations on the F-35. And you know what? I talked a little bit down on the F-35 recently in the last couple of episodes. But of course it's still a very modern and decent plane, and especially the sensor suit might be pretty well adapted. In particular this electronic gathering information over here. So we do have very good search capabilities over here for over 500 nautical miles. So that's dramatic. We also have infrared navigation and air-to-air tracking, which is again very good. IRTS, infrared. I can't remember what that means, but it's basically we are looking at the infrared signature, and that's very nice because on a bright day as such, that allows us to spot enemies without giving off any active emissions. On the other hand, this radar dish over here also very good. But if we actually switch that on, we'd be able to, the enemy would be able to see us pretty well. So I'd rather not do that. We'll try to close in without doing that. More helicopters launching. I think I'll accelerate time somewhat over here just to see whether we can close into these F-16s. And there are now 4 in the air, which I find slightly discerning. And they seem to be going... Are they sticking close to the coast or not? It's a little bit hard to tell. You know what, we might actually come down right up over here. It looks like they are on a hold pattern over there, and they might be just there to sort of guard against any enemy attacks. So, you know what, I think we might actually bring up our flight over here. Although I'm going to tell you to be slow. But maybe you can mop up some of these targets in case there should be some benefit in doing so. Yeah. While our passive radar signature is really good at spotting emissions coming from that direction, again, it doesn't really know how far away precisely they are. And of course, right now I think we are relying on their radars being switched on, which currently they aren't. So that's a little bit of a shame. You know what? I think I'm going to bring up this helicopter over here. Another boogie detected. That's another airplane. I'm not sure it's going to be the same one. No, it does not look like that. It looks like a very different kind of thing. So This is sort of a funny shape, but it's basically a giant radar dish, a flying radar dish. Somewhat close to the American AWACS. Has a very high passive detection range, has a very decent active range as well, as you can see over here, so probably they would be able to spot us somewhere in this direction. By the way, how are the weapon systems looking over here? So we have loaded up a couple of Tomahawks, and I think, you know what, I think we might want to launch them. So what I'm going to do is set up the first attack from HMS Ambush over here. And we're going to target this radar installation, and we're going to allocate two Tomahawks to that. There we go, the first one being launched. And I think the second one should follow up just behind that. You can see it's yeah, there we are. You can see it's designated as a missile, but otherwise looks a little bit like an aircraft, an air system. The benefit of these Tomahawks, for example, is that we can use them. Here, come on. I think I should be able to do that. Can I not select you? I don't think I can. Huh, curious. I thought I'd be able to do that. Okay, and the second attack target actually is to me this highway bridge. But I would rather, can we actually attack unit orders, attack options, engage manually? Yes, I would like that. What I would like to do... Yeah, okay, come on. You know what? Let's attack manually. I think it's gonna fly over the area anyway. And then what we're gonna do is bring up the submarine a little bit over there, and you can please creep up because I don't want you to be too fast. Right, there we go. These things are traveling. I would like them to follow somewhat different path. Skunk. Sorry. We spotted a skunk. Skunk means an enemy or a surface ship. Doesn't need to be enemy, but indeed it is enemy. And it's a frigate. It's a guided missile frigate. You can see it has very good defenses. It could weather an attack by about 16 harpoons or equivalent missiles. Lots and lots of technology over here. Laser ride. Yeah. What type of weapons are you actually carrying? You're equipped with a hangar, so we can expect some helicopters. Signature is pretty strong, nuclear shock resistant. Degauss Stahl. Yeah, that's interesting. You're very fast. You have 25mm guns. You have torpedoes, specifically against submarines. You have a 76mm gun. And you can launch quite a couple of harpoons. Harpoons are of course very dangerous against our ships. And these are just dispensers. So how can we attack this craft in case we need to? So first of all, we are going to mark that as unfriendly because I think that's what it is. We're going to bring you a little bit closer towards up over here. Oh, it's actually a total fleet of enemy ships. So that does change the equation somewhat. So yeah, more. Yeah, I think we can be fairly confident that these are enemy ships actually. And Chinese contacts. Well, I mean, they might just have Chinese technology. So that means we could try to sneak in with this guy. This is one of our Indian submarines. I'm afraid it's not very good. It's a diesel electric submarine. Does have a certain range, but we need to get very, very, very close in order to actually be able to fire on anyone. So it looks like we are starting to identify two groups of enemy ships over here. One over here, a frigate, a long, well, basically a group of frigates. And this thing over here might be a little bit different. So you, what are you actually carrying? You're much worse at defending against anti-air attacks, but you might be more dangerous to us, which would mean Crotal. That's a French missile actually. Anti-submarine warfare, yeah. Very short range. Surface ships on 70 miles, yeah, so okay, we'll need to take care of that in a second. 100mm frag burst, okay. Interesting. So, here we are then. So I think you were... No, it's actually not you. It's someone else. Who? Chakra? Shalky, okay, yeah, it is Shalky. You were ordered to periscope depth. You are... You know what? Go to cruise speed. Come up over here. We need some targeting information up over here. There are some enemies, but it's very, very unclear where actually they are. And it's fine that you should be coming down a little bit. I think we are gonna drive down the speed of our... Yeah, okay, you know what? Let's not give you a manual override. Let's just ask you to do whatever you need to do. How freaking close are you? Right, so we do have another aircraft contact over here. What's that? You are a maritime patrol vessel. Okay, interesting. Do you actually carry any weapons? You do not. You just have a couple of sensors. Yeah, radar. And that's what we spotted. Yeah, okay. You're definitely unfriendly. So, this group of ships, this group of ships, this group of aircraft. One aircraft up over here and one apparently very close to us. I'm not sure how realistic that truly is. HMS Ambush is very deep. You know what? I think what we're gonna do is on this flight over here of the MiG-29s, we're going to turn on the radar and try to find the enemy for the other aircraft. With an active radar dish, you should also with an active radar coverage, we should be able to pinpoint their position much more closely. Right, there we go. So these guys seem to be very close. I think that result down there was very spurious. Come on, spot the MiG-20s, the 20. Ooh, you guys are also very close. Let's get over here. It's starting to become a little bit unclear to see, so I'm gonna switch off the surface sensors for a second, and the underwater weapons. We still need the information on... Yeah, we still need the information on anti-air ranges, I'm afraid. Yeah, but look how difficult it is for this, even for this MiG-29 with active radar installations, to pinpoint the position of the of the F-16s. We know two must be over here, and there are two more over here, but we still can't see them. And you know what? Actually, you need to go back to cruise speed. There we go. This is a good fix. Now we know they are about here. And they are very close to our engagement range. But it starts to be a little bit tricky. This is the theoretical engagement range. The A-12 just as their weapons, has a theoretical range of 45 nautical miles. However, it only has a limited speed. It only goes 2,000 knots. That's not very slow, but it does mean that we'll not be able to... Okay, so that means now these guys have attacked us from a range of about 55 nautical miles. They started to launch some missiles. That does confirm to me that they must be having the AMI 120C. There's no other missile in the arsenal that would be able to fire at that range. Now that's very bad. Of course, that's a situation that we wanted to avoid. However, it's not the end of the day. They launched near the extreme end of the range, so about 55-57 nautical miles. We know that they only have a range of 60 nautical miles. So it sounds like they would be able to get us, but we are not a stationary target. We need to run away. So let's turn towards the other direction. Let's put on the afterburner and let's go very, very low. Now the reason I do that is because probably they'll have a speed of about 2,000 miles or so, 2,000 knots, which means they will be here very quickly. But if we run away at 900 nautical miles, by the time that they cover 50 nautical miles, we should be able to cover at least 20, and that would in total move us out of the range. I also want to go to minimum altitude because there is a chance that will break the radar contact of these guys with us. So that's what we're going to try to do over here. Let's do so. Let's bring up our F-35s a little bit more closer towards this enemy. Designated missile. Where's that? So another 2 missiles. That's very typical. Normally the enemy would fire 2 missiles on each aircraft, so it's not entirely unheard of. We are not making the speed that I would have hoped. Because the speed is lower as you go lower. Still, I think this is fairly decent and we might be able to outrun them. I certainly hope that that would be the case. And you know what? I think what we want to do over here is get you guys to actually go towards a higher speed. 700 knots. That's fairly good. There we go. There we go. See? I'm not actually sure we should have that information, but they are just running out of juice just as we cross towards over here. So let's get back to max altitude and let's turn back towards them because that's actually... So how do we want to do this then? I think what we might want to do is come up over here sort of on a parallel course. So not run directly towards them, but on a military speed, so we are not burning quite as much fuel. We are very close to running out of fuel. In fact, in 7 minutes we would run out of fuel with these guys. The F-35s, I think, are starting to inch somewhat closer. We do see that they are trying to catch our flight over here. And I think they should be able to spot it now because, yeah, you could see a little bit of a range of a bearing change there because these guys were in fact probably not able to see this one. Now that being said, there's another aircraft over here, one over here, one over here, and a couple of things over there. I would ideally like to take down this patrol aircraft as well, but right now we might not be able to do so. We might, however, be able to take this one, although I'm not sure it's really truly here or maybe somewhere over there, so we'll have to see about that. And you know what, you probably need to come up a little bit towards that direction. Right, so first shots fired. We dodged some bullets over here, quite literally, but next time we might actually see, for the very first time, the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter in action and engaging some F-16, so American airplanes pitched against each other. Happy to see how that will come out to be, but that's gonna have to wait until the next episode. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys then. Bye bye.